this slide, I'm going to cover the 4 notable psychologists that I believe shaped educational psychology. I'm going to begin with John Piaget for the development of cognitive theory. Basically what began was he has 4 different stages of development, beginning at birth and ending around 11, 12 years old, becoming adolescence. The first stage is sensory motor. This is where the infants think about the world with their eyes and hands and start figuring out how to work it with just their sensories. The pre-operational begins at 2 to 7. This is where preschool children use symbols to represent their earlier sensory motors discoveries. And the next stage is concrete operational. This is from 7 to 11. Children's reasoning become more logical. School-age children understand about certain amount of lemonade or Play-Doh remains the same. And the last one was formal operational, which is basically 11 years and on. And this is the capacity to think abstractly, do some metacognition thinking, do some hypothesis. And the reason that Piaget began with this, he was influenced by his early training in biology. This is where he got his central theory of adaptation, how children change from one stage to the next stage to the next stage. The next psychologist I'm going to cover is Lev Vygotsky. I believe he is a true changer in the way people think. He has a little different take on psychology than Piaget, but it has to do more with the social aspect. Kids learn from what affects them and what's around them, as in even the culture that you live in is the way you may learn things differently. So he developed the zone of proximal development, and this is just where the child can achieve guidance with guidance from encouragement from another partner and things like that, which I think is one of the great things when you get into the classroom of using small groups and them kind of things. Basically, the reciprocal teaching is another thing that he's worked on, working with the teacher, learning and practicing, like summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting what's going to happen. That way you can kind of back off and maybe the students begin to do this metacognition, thinking themselves and believe, what's going on. This is another one of them, that scaffolding and apprenticeships, that just one of them things that will help students move on. Just a bit of information over Vygotsky, which is so intriguing to me, was he was actually born in the Russian Empire, and which is crazy to me that he was born in that early of age, and he graduated with a law degree, but that really didn't get him into the philosophy and psychology of things until he started working at a school and things like that, which is strange that he was such a prolific writer and such a good psychologist and developing these things. It's and he actually died at the age of 38. If you can believe being able to do that much stuff, die at 38 from odd to be tuberculosis, which we all get checked for anyway. And then most of his information that he has published over the years has been locked up because it's been in the Russian Empire. So it's not only one of them things. We're still now just being able to form them things of educational psychology from his thinkings and everything that way. So just a little tidbit. I really like the Vygotsky's theory. The next thing is Erik Erikson, which is another kind of a crazy psychologist, because he was born to a mother that was basically of from another person, and he didn't really know his father, and the father that he did know, he was a doctor, but for the fact of not being able to get mixed up in his father's name and that kind of thing. He basically changed his name from, Erickson. So just a strange way of doing things over the years. And a lot of his development came from actually studying the cultural life of the Sioux of South Dakota and the Yurok of California, and understanding them kind of theories in the psychosocial crisis is kind of one of them crazy things that Erickson did. Basically, he came up with different stages of growing up and things like that. Basically, it starts at infancy, and this one doesn't stop at 11 years of age like Piaget did. It actually goes clear to maturity, 65 to death. And we go through these basic conflicts of theories that we develop through. The first one is mistrust and trust, and the children will develop a sense of who they can trust and who they and have affection for, and some of the lack of needing will cause them to do distrust. We won't have that so much basically in probably kindergarten through sixth grade, but some of the later years, the initiative or guilt and things like that, industry inferiority, them are the things that we can look at and be able to use and kind of mold our type of teaching of how to get through to the children and them kind of things. And I think that's one of them things that we need to, use, is not only use one type of psychologist, but use many different type of possibilities. And obviously the last one, Howard Gardner. After being able to read Howard Gardner and do some studying on Howard Gardner, he basically started out with 7 multiple intelligences. Now there's 8. I read it the other day on the website. Now that there could be 9 possible multiple intelligences, and it goes down to just if you're a musical, the rhythm. If you're a spatial thinker, the naturalist is kind of like the biologist type of thinking. And this is just where knowing your students, being able to communicate with your students at a level so you can understand them better, to be able to instruct, to teach them, to give them the information that they will need to succeed, even at the kindergarten level, all the way through to 6th grade. I really was kind of impounded by this type of thinking. This has allowed me to, I've taken a few more psychology classes. Actually, I jumped one in the middle of the semester here, an 8-week class, just to learn more about child development, child psychology, learning them type of things, how the children do it. So this has really got me intrigued about teaching and how to mold and allow this to be in the classroom. So these are my 4 notable psychologists: John Piaget, Lev Vygotsky, Erik Erikson, and Howard Gardner.